Spiritualism and Symbolism in Creating Bokyou no Sato, Japanese Garden in Khabarovsk by Koichi Kobayashi. This presentation illustrates first how principles and major influencing factors, as this author have defined, have been guiding development of Bokyou in Khabarovsk, Russia. Presentation covers principles as identified and as manifested in Sakteki. Idea for creating the garden in Khabarovsk was conceived to be a Japanese garden around the existing stone monument, commemorating 13 Japanese perished while they were imprisoned after the World War II. It is a very spiritual place, and due to site size, financial and environmental conditions, strong but appropriate design with symbolism due to its adaptability and flexibility has been called for and preferred. Following is a concise statement composed by this author to answer a question of what is Japanese garden and to primarily address to Japanese gardens outside of Japan based on a number of researches, interviews, and visitation to date. It is art in space, where one could meditate and contemplate in receiving sense of serenity, pureness, and peacefulness, which leads to one's awareness of connection to the cosmos and in eternity. Japanese garden is a product of Japanese attitude toward nature and Japanese sense of aesthetic, and where there is a sense of recording natural scenery and passing of time. This statement definitely reflects teachings in Sakteki by Toshitsuna Tachibana from 12th century. Although Sakteki, the oldest Japanese garden design manual, addressed primarily for developing estate and court pleasure garden of Heian period, overriding principles stated in the text apply to much diversified Japanese gardens following Heian period, hence after, and even today. Three of the principles for designing a garden stated in Sakteki cover as follows. Number one, condition of the site and surroundings should be thoroughly studied. Shape of the pond and landscape should be configured according to beloved natural scenery. Second, design should respond to works of ancient masters and wishes of users should be listened to. Only after this process, designer should exercise his own subjectivity. And finally, make reference to recall good and beloved natural scenery in designing garden. Under the preceding principles, garden design will be developed, employing main factors influencing for viewing, appreciating, understanding, and designing Japanese gardens. These are the factors commonly utilized in describing or defining Japanese garden to date. They include spirituality, sociality, period, purpose and function, style and zoning, architectural style, representative technique, and ornamental and iconic elements. Classical gardens are strongly connected to Japanese mythology, religion, and fashion of the period. Jodo and Zen are quoted most often. Even though not directly connected to any religion, Japanese people are keenly aware of their linkage, and they will read it for connection from space, use of elements, and placement. A diverse style exists in Japanese garden design, responding to purposes and function of the space and area. They can be for pleasure, religious need, and showing of supremacy as in daimyo garden. Layout of the garden is tied very closely with purpose and function and building. Shinden and Shoin style are showing opposing contrasts. T-style garden exhibit harmony between building and garden the most. Essential parts of technique include symbolism, gray and voice space, key stone placement, abstraction, borrowed view, hide and seek, boundary, framing, bending, diagonal line, stretched curve, perspective, sequential space, and open and closed and vista. And finally, ornamental and or iconic elements include selection of plants, stone and stone lantern, bridge, gate, fence, stone paving, stone structures, landform and waterscape and fall and stream. Now we go to Bokyou. Again, idea for creating a garden in Khabarovsku, Russia was conceived to be a Japanese garden around the existing stone monument commemorating 13 Japanese perished while they were in prison. Over 600,000 Japanese were imprisoned all over Soviet Union and over 50,000 died during this internment. There was a stone quarry in the village of Khabarovsku, part of Khabarovsku, where Japanese imprisoned nearby worked, and 13 of them died while imprisonment. A graveyard was created in the village, and a stone memorial was erected by a group of Japanese in 1990. In 2019, the village decided to build a Japanese garden to commemorate this historic event around the existing stone memorial and for villagers' recreation and enjoyment. There was a plea for assistance from the village. There is the location of internment camps and the existing graveyard and monuments. And there is a scale model of the camp. And this is a photo with survivors in Tokyo 2019, also standing. Here's a site. And this is by the village of Khabarovsku. Here's a site right in the middle of the wood. Here's the existing memorial. Here's the Khabarovsku natural landscape, hills, materials, and some rock materials. So there are a number of opportunities and constraints for developing the garden. They include for opportunities, story requiring healing, people with one heart, nature existing hope, and a climate to be reckoned with. However, constraints are many. Climate, no water, no movable features, limited materials, limited skilled craftsmen, and above anything all, limited financial resources. But regarding inspiration and symbolism, inmate at the prison face severe environmental conditions, forced labor and loneliness for longing for their homeland during the imprisonment. They often sang a childhood song very dear to all Japanese titled Furusato, hometown, to heal their soul and loneliness. Verse includes lines of, "We are all longing for our hometown, where we used to chase rabbits in the mountains and to catch small fishes in the stream. They were very hungry for natural landscape of Japan. To symbolize its history and their longing for Japan as a basis for developing this garden. A number of Japanese scenic and historic and religious sites gave inspiration for further development. There's a plate showing the Sono, and these are the inspirations from Kyoto, Japan, hills and then streams, and historical drawings. Existing gardens with similar theme for comparison. In selecting design pattern for the garden, a series of workshops were conducted and it resulted in a number of diagrams. First diagram illustrates a collection of ideas produced by volunteers. Evaluation of these diagrams indicated a strong preference toward informal and natural pattern. The second diagram indicates application of design style alternative from Russian, Japanese, and then cosmopolitan modern. Zoning and layout of the garden is illustrated in with the three major zones of place for prayer, place for longing, for home, and a place for life, rain, water, and wetland. Major design elements include a commemorative stone post and stone paved processional walkway, recording rituality, and will include symbolic hill simulating Mount Hiei, Higashiyama Hill, symbolic stone lantern stone setting, simulating waterfall, cascade, river, and coral beach. Following techniques are used and will be employed in building this garden. Sequential direction and open road space, featured view exhibiting symbolism, viewpoints, I stop, and an enclosure and boundary. So based on all of the preceding discussions, presentations, there is a master design as of today. And a portion of this design is completed as the phase one construction. There is the phase two model. As a conclusion of this presentation, I'd like to say, present and future development of this garden vividly indicates how adaptation of a symbolism through abstraction and simplification could be employed as a main theme and has revealed that symbolism with its flexibility is the essence of Japanese garden. Thank you.